So we're taking a look at the third episode of CW's Charmed Sweet Tooth Halloween-themed episode, and this one was a lot of fun, folks. I know I may have beaten up on the series a little bit last week, but this was just a nice, fun return to form. There were some goofy moments and some head-scratchers and some questionable logic, but two things. One, was it a fun Halloween-themed episode? Absolutely was. Did it also give us some things to start looking at and considering as the season moved forward? Absolutely. So let me jump right into my review. First, let me begin by saying I love the idea that now the ladies are moving forward with their training. And we have Harry now in his perfect Buffy Giles form, being the teacher and the trainer. We've got Mel, we've got Macy, and we've got Maggie, who I'm probably thinking the best way to represent this is almost like the three bears. We've got Mel, who is reckless with her power. We've got Macy, who is being a little too conservative thinking. And then we have Maggie, who's trying to essentially live a very active social life and still do the Hogwarts home training type stuff. You can imagine where this mixture is going to take things. They're looking out after the Harbinger. What is it? The Harbinger of Hell. That's it. I want to say Harbinger from Hell, but Harbinger of Hell. I'll make sure to get that title right because it's kind of badass. More specifically, the fact that the Harbinger of Hell has a human vessel, dun dun dun, which we're going to get to in a second. And if you saw last week's episode, which I hope you did, you know what we're talking about. I do like the idea that they mix the supernatural with the science, and it feels like I got a little bit of an education in this episode too, because the idea how sulfuric acid reacts with sugar I thought was a nice touch, and how it tied in the black goo that they had acquired from the Harbinger of Hell before. So I thought that was a nice touch, and I liked seeing Mel and Macy interacting in that way. Angela Wu as the vessel. Wow, thankfully at least it's Halloween, because that helps explain the look, which is very disturbing. And I have to say, one of the things I like about Charmed, even though I know some people push back on it a little bit, is I like that we get the fun and the goofy with the really horrific. My feeling is if you're going to go that route, I like to have the contrasts. And I think Charmed's doing a really good job of that. The interaction between Harry and Mel and the magical bracelet I want to get to in a second, but there was something very disturbingly restraining about the whole concept. That the fact that whenever she's going to do what she's going to do, he gets alerted to it. I'm not comfortable with that, though we do get some reasoning I'm going to talk about in a few minutes to explain where all that was going. Macy and Galvin, thoughts? I know a lot of people are into them as a couple. I'm not quite buying them as a couple yet. I see the possibility, but so far, again, we're only 3 episodes in. I do think they tread water nicely. I would like to see where that dynamic goes. I hope they avoid some of the cliches we're kind of starting to see already with the whole missed opportunities, missed kisses things. I know people love that, but let's, for a show that's been avoiding some cliches, let's keep that ball rolling. Macy and Maggie, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg outfit, I think was just awesome. But the reasoning behind it and the whole idea about, you know, essentially the opening up and what was going on and what life used to be like before she joined her sisters, there was just so much wonderful interaction between the two of them that I was a really, really big fan, and I think it really drove the point home. The other thing, too, is I like the fact that they make sure we see that there are ramifications for magic. You know, the idea that because there was so much glamorizing being used to set up their home for the big sorority party, it affected their ability to take down the Harbinger, and how it almost cost one of them, and I'm curious to see if it's going to cost one of them still down the road. The exchange between Mel and Harry, I really want to address, because I think this was the heart and this was the key of the episode, and it gave us some good background. Now, I know there might be some people rolling their eyes at some of it, but I think it establishes a lot of good things that we're seeing between Harry and the sisters. This idea from Mel's standpoint of not being able to tell the person she loves who she really is, this idea of feeling trapped in the closet again, we can see the allegory between coming out of the closet and admitting your sexuality and coming out of the closet to say your wish. This idea of owning and taking ownership and being pride of who you are as an individual, and this idea of wanting to tell Nico and be open to it. I thought that was a very, very honest, open, and direct. And the fact that Harry was nice enough to open up and say, like, look, I'm not just this for the sake of being this. It's not so much of a matter I don't trust you. And he tells her the story of Fiona and the tragic story about how Fiona opened up and admitted her powers and opened up to somebody, and it got her institutionalized and she died. Now, a big red flag alert, we know full well this story is going to come into play majorly as the season rolls along, but I thought that was just a nice touch and a nice extra addition to the episode. And I give Rupert Evans a lot of credit because of the way he sold that. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about his character, But this is one of those episodes where I'm starting to get a sense of what he's all about. The other thing I got to say, which really surprised me, I was impressed with, they got the Harbinger of Hell. It locked up now in the basement. We see now how it ties directly into the next episode, which is another thing I like about this series. I like that a lot of times we are getting direct continuations. This is one of those, because I figured once you capture the Harbinger of Hell, you can't really just say, hey, we're going to jump ahead 2 weeks. Plus, I think it does a nice job of setting us up to meet one of the elders, which Harry has been talking about, because I think that's where we're going to start getting a little bit more of an interesting dynamic as to what role the elders play in what the sisters are going to be dealing with for the semester to come and the season that remains.